Hello and welcome, friends and enemies, to another edition of RSF Radio. I'm your host, Joe Monday, and today I have two very special guests with me on the mic tonight. Everybody's favorite video game influencer, Cuddle Core. What's going on?
Nothing much. Glad to be here. Thanks.
Happy to have you on. And the CEO and co-founder of Equinox Gaming, Emily. What's good?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having us.
I am very tired and exhausted as things have really picked up this week for a number of different reasons, which we will get into later on in the show for sure. But the main reason I wanted to have you both on is to talk about KOCancer and the charity work that you've put in for that. But before we get into all of that, I want to specifically ask the both of you, is there anything going on right now that you want to pitch? Do you have anything like in the works right now? Anything you want to send people towards in general? Cuddle Core, let's start with you.
Well, I've been doing since we are kind of in a slowdown right now. I've been making a lot more content for Tekken, and whether it's my highlights on the new characters that I've been experimenting with, or just creating like guides for character matchups and things like that. It's to help players who are struggling with approaching said matchups. So I definitely have more of that content on my YouTube. So if you just type in Cuddle_Core Tekken, you'll find a lot of my instructional content.
That's cool. What exactly are people asking for in the Tekken community as of right now when it comes to like general matchup knowledge or even like how-to videos? What seems to be like the general questions that people ask for that game right now?
Well, whenever people have asked me about the game or like how-tos, a lot of the time it's been about movement and when to defend and what's the best way to get someone who's attacking a lot off of me or who's really offensive or mashing buttons. And a lot of people ask about those, like the more like intricate parts of the game, like the mind aspect, the very deep mind part, like the turn taking even of the game and frames. So it's great because Tekken even has they have frame data.
Yeah, they added that in the latest patch, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think it was the latest patch or the one before it. But it's very resourceful. Like you don't have to look on the internet. And potentially it could be wrong knowledge, but you don't have to like test it out all the time and in practice mode. It says it right there. When you perform the command, it shows what it is, how negative, how plus, if it leaves you in crouch, if it doesn't, if you're airborne, if you're not, the startup frames on it. So it's very resourceful. I use it all the time. But yeah, these the more like intricate parts of the game, like the approaching mentally approaching your opponent, those parts of the game I get a lot of questions about. So that's what a lot of people are asking about, and they want more content or a season 4 to keep the game fresh as well, and more stages too.
Okay. I guess then the other question that I'll ask is are your videos more beginner friendly, or is it like intermediate level? Who should really be looking for these videos, if not everybody?
I think everyone can actually look at these videos. Now, the level of player will, I think, sometimes benefit more from some of the videos because it gets a little more advanced. Like when I break down how to deal with a certain character's stances because she's very evasive, that could be intermediate to maybe advanced. Because if you're new to the game, the last thing you're thinking about is, oh my God, I just got hit. Okay, how plus was that? How minus was that? That's like, that comes later. So I have other videos that talk about how to get like acquainted with competing from local to regional to worldwide. And I had that a couple months ago. So that helps with everybody. So that covers everyone and where you start and the kinds of competition you'll come across in these fields. But like, if you're trying to get to each step, what you need to do based on my own experiences and where I started.
No, that's very cool. Anything else that you'd want to point people towards before we dig into the meat here?
Anything else?
Or before I toss it over to Emily, let's say.
There are other Tekken players who are also making content as well. And some of that's very character specific too, or just like really fun things to watch about certain characters. Brawl Pro is a king player. He's a very strong king player who's making more content. Anakin also dropped some beginner, I believe like to intermediate level like videos about approaching Tekken as well. Like, so like the more mental part as I was mentioning earlier. So definitely check out their videos and give them a follow as well to get more Tekken content.
Hell yeah, I'm about that life. All right, then the question bounces off to you, Emily. Is there anything that you've got going on or Equinox has going on that you'd want to direct people towards right now?
Sure. So obviously, like everyone, we had to sort of pivot towards content, basically, and online tournaments. And we're a really new team. We've never really done tournaments. So I talked to Janelle about it. I just, pitched the idea of a cuddle circuit with her. And all of it basically has been an experiment, and it's been going really well. So we have, I think our last one coming up, right, Janelle? On the 18th, our cuddle circuit. The last stop would be East Coast. That's coming up. Sign-ups are open. We've also been partnering with different brands to do content, like Level Up Your Game. We've been working with them to do Winner's Mindset, which is really cool. That's a YouTube series with Rip and JDCR, where they're just talking about mentality, and that's been kind of fun to do. We haven't really done this before. We're kind of in new territory, so we're just exploring how we can do content, help other content, do things for the community, and then also help our players as well. So with the online tournaments, we did the Cuddle Circuit with Janelle, and then we did Sub Wars with Brian F., which I thought was really awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I was not involved in that, but seeing that happen was like that made me feel good watching that happen.
I'm glad, because everybody's been thrown for a loop, right? And so our team is just trying to be really creative about it and still try to do stuff that's fun, stuff that's good for the community, good for our players, good for the team. And yeah, it's just been online tournaments and a lot of content.
I think that's been the interesting turn that a lot of teams have been doing right now, and specifically seeing how those teams are interacting with the games that they support. Yeah. Like, I've just seen so many teams be like, I don't know what to do with Street Fighter. This netcode is not conducive to online tournaments at all. How do you even do this? Have you seen that much of a, negative response from how the netcode works with Tekken, or is that less of an issue based on your experience?
Tekken and their netcode, we're struggling right now.
I know it's like, I know of it. I mean, it did get better than it was at release, so you got that at least. True.
I hope that they're able to patch it a bit more, because something that the players and I are noticing are with the patches, the netcode's getting worse. And I'm like, how is that? Huh? Yeah. But it's kind of like we're hoping that they tweak whatever's going on with it, because it was pretty dang smooth before the 2, I think, or 3 patches. And now, especially since we're online, we're really hoping that they tackle that problem, because I think we're going to be doing a bit more online stuff for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with it's weird to see all of the largest games, how they've had to manage this, or at least manage the community around online stuff. Like, this is a Street Fighter show, and I'll just say pretty earnestly, I think that Capcom has been handling it bad, and it's not been so good. But at least in your experience, those, like, I guess this is more towards a question for you, Cuddle Core, but has like Harada and the Tekken team been taking that feedback seriously and looking to improve? Have they been vocal about that?
I haven't really been keeping up too much with some of their tweets on it. I know that they've been there's like announcements of different things going on, but right. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen anything on the netcode part yet, but I'm hoping that that's in the works. I know it takes time, but usually they're pretty good with getting back to us as long as people aren't attacking, because that's a whole other thing when people start attacking and kind of getting hostile about the things put into the game. Which okay, for example, Hell Sweep was became a tracking move, and
just
people
block.
were upset,
right?
And that was I think the comment really hurt players because it's like, well, Tekken is a 3D fighting game, and the fact that Mishimas can wave dash to realign themselves, they wave dash, they're right back in front of me. That's why wave dash Hell Sweep is a vortex because of that. So so me stepping is sometimes a better option for us instead of just blocking, because it's right in front of us and we have to guess on like 3 different things from wave dash, and then that's scary. So people voice their concerns, sometimes not in the most educated way, but they were mad, they were angry. So that got fixed last patch, which I'm so grateful for, because my characters could step it anyway. Sorry, one of my characters could step it anyway. But the point was, it made Mishimas, it buffed them in a sense that made them a little too scary. It was a little over the top, but it seems like they listen. But I don't think being overly aggressive to the people who help us is necessary. People were making reasonable complaints about it in videos and stuff too. More of that, please. Just more of that, so that they can hear it, so that they don't tune us out because we're calling them all kinds of names. No, that's not how
educating people on the mechanics of how this is busted. Of you realize now that when they wave dash forward, you're in a mix-up now. They haven't pressed a button yet, but you're in a mix-up.
and it's like, when it's a tracking move, like what can you do? Because then you have to guess on 2 different things. So you have to guess on the Hell Sweep. But then if you try and duck and block that, then you might eat the wall rising too, which is a launch. Like, you can't win on that. So it's like there has to be a balance there, which is the Hell Sweep being linear. That's why.
All right, I've got you. While I've got you heated, let's go to a less incendiary topic in that case, then, or maybe a more incendiary, depending on which angle you want to take this. But a couple of weeks ago, you threw the KOCancer charity tournament. Could you tell us about let's start at the beginning, the origins of this? What was the impetus for this, the KOCancer, #KOCancer?
Okay, Emily, you ready for this? You ready to lay this out? All right.
I'm strapped in. I strapped into this chair. People don't know this office chair, but it's got I've got a seat belt that I gotta latch on just in case people pop off. Might happen pretty soon. That's from what I'm hearing. But go ahead, please.
It was awesome. I'll give a little bit of the beginning too, and Emily, input at any time.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So we got an email from was it ready to?
It's player 2.
Yeah, player.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I said please throw it in everything. And so the email was asking about collaborating with the Breast Cancer Research Foundation was something that we were doing in the community, the fighting game community, because they're interested in esports and spreading awareness and that way as well. Mm-hmm. And so Emily and I talked about it, and we were like, oh my god, this is a big deal. Oh my god, we've never done something like this, or we never had. And so we went on a call, and Emily started coming up with making a whole week of streamathoning for all the people on Equinox to raise money for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. But when was it, the 14th of May, when we had the actual tournament, she put all of that together. She got the Street Fighter community, she got the Tekken community, and 2 different coasts of tournaments running at 2 different times. We had commentators, we had some of the best people for just to represent the tournaments, and we had a great staff as well running everything, and it was just it was crazy. Emily, I still don't know how you did it. It's insane, but
yeah, I think I kind of have to ask Emily, just knowing the amount of organization that goes behind something like that, and organizing a multiple day event as a team that is I mean, as you said, not used to running big online events like this. How was that experience for you? If you had the ability to hop in a time machine today and go back to pre-event Emily, what would you advise yourself to do early on to maybe avoid headaches that you might have run into?
Honestly, the headaches that we ran into, I felt like were so minuscule. We made sure that the people we worked with were people that we could rely on, and really believed in the mission as well, and understood like what we were trying to do. And so it just felt effortless at times. I don't know. When you just work with people who share the same mindset and you're just a bunch of cool people who just want to do something cool, it becomes effortless, especially when people really care. And when it happened, I just, I worked a lot up until the event, planning all of this, getting people together. But when it all came together finally, like basically I was putting together the pieces for this big event. When the day finally came, it just happened. And honestly, when I look back on it and I think about the biggest regrets, like I regret maybe like we didn't have more time to raise more money.
Yeah.
But I felt really proud about what we accomplished in the, like we literally had like less than a week to plan it. So I was really proud of what we were able to do. 4 tournaments in one day, as well as a week of streaming. Mm-hmm. And it was our first time. So it made me really excited about like, what we're able to accomplish in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think that was also one of the more impressive things about this event was the lead up time. Like upon like first hearing about it, you were like, this is like a week from now, like 2 weeks from now, like here's a little bit of promotional details. And then like it all just kind of rolled together. So building out the team, having people you could trust in high places, I would assume having people who are like running the bracket, like TO runners, people in the Discords, people in the chats, making sure that everybody's going the right places, all very difficult to manage. So really hats off to you, because that's a huge accomplishment. But what was the lead up time? You said it was about like 2 weeks planning or 1 week planning?
It's like a week.
It was just a
week.
Dude.
It was a week. It was like a week.
You got like all that promotional material all set up.
We went hard. We went hard. Because like Janelle said, it's like, it felt like it is a really big deal for us. And we felt like we haven't seen something like this recently for the fighting game community. Well, before this, the recent events.
But we'll get into.
Yeah, but
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But it was just, stunning.
Yeah, no. What was the final count on total donations from all of the different days up until the final day? The final count.
Final count, I believe 230 single donations.
I never looked at the single donations, like the count of them. I didn't know I could. I just thought I did. I guess I don't even know how to use Tiltify correctly for that. But that's amazing.
230 different people.
Excuse me. Can we scratch that?
Yep, you raised it.
Okay. Boom. We raised.
I'll definitely go back and edit that. I'm shaking my head. No, I'm not going to.
We had a total of 130 total single donations, which amounted to about 230 hours of research funded. There.
Okay. Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
Excuse me.
And what was the final what was the number that you hit?
11,517.35.
Wow, that is such an impressive amount for such a short lead up. Because I think that something that I feel like Team Equinox has really been accomplished at has been your ability for promotion. Like all of your like player announcements, that promotion has been fantastic. Your gear is some of the best, I would say. I'm not just saying that because you're on. I actually think it looks like the best. It's not like a weird esports jersey. It's like, no, here's something cool that you could wear that like a human would wear.
I'm crying.
Not like a weird.
I feel it. I understand.
I'm a future competitor. Check out my wet wicking shirt against my that has tightened itself around me like a sausage. No. Not that. No, it's actually like cool stuff. But what you like, what your team has been able to do and produce in that short amount of time is actually really impressive. Because like one of the things that people don't think about is like creating that promotional material takes time, and then like agreeing on, well, like this is the link, this is where we're going to send people to. Here's like all the short. Here's all the actual information we want on this page. Like, takes some finagling. Who's the artist that works for you? Remind me again.
We have 2 designers, Anna Rumi and Amy Tan. And Anna Rumi is actually the designer of our shirts. So she did the, the We Can Do It shirt, Yatta shirt. And actually, I do a lot of the graphics as well. Teaching self-taught Photoshop is extremely important. I think everybody should learn it because a lot of the things is just be learning it, and as well as learning it from the graphic designers, and we're just able to pump out stuff really fast and stuff that we're really proud of.
No, that's good advice of anyone who's like thinking about promotion of like, oh, learn how to do this stuff yourself, because then you have control over what message gets sent.
Right.
Instead of having to go back and forth with an artist and figure out, well, actually, could you move this a little bit, or this color is not right, or some weird shit like that.
And for me, my background is in marketing, so I understand the importance of being able to use social media properly to reach your audience. Mm-hmm. And I know that the fighting game community is a lot of it's based on Twitter. So having that conversation, putting stuff on there that, elevates the standard or stuff that we're proud of, I think it's important. Even if, we're still like a new team, we're still growing. We have like 5,000 followers, but I feel like we conduct ourselves like, a T1 org, I feel. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important in the way we do our graphics, our branding, the stuff we wear, and it's stuff we want to wear. So when we think about the esports jersey, the baseball one, we just thought like, what would we want to wear that, that's, we kind of like to not see what everybody else is doing, basically just think about what we like personally, it's been working for us, I guess.
No, I'm for that. I kind of want to throw you a curveball right now. Is that okay? Can you catch this pitch? All right. I'm going to throw it anyway. Ready or not. You mentioned something about the fighting game community generally being on Twitter, which I would agree with you. It gets a little complicated whenever you consider that most advertising dollars aren't really spent on Twitter to promote events and such. So what has been like, I don't know, does this limit your scope, do you think, in terms of outreach, or is it a benefit to have everybody on this one platform that would be interested in this niche community kind of thing? Just kind of like a general question of like, what's your take on how the FGC has treated social media, and like if there might be better ways or like untapped markets?
I'm writing this down, sorry.
Okay, sorry. Big curveball question. No, I know. We can come back to it and address it later.
I was just gonna say. I was just gonna say. The FGC. Yeah, a lot of it is on Twitter, but I do feel like if it could expand to other platforms a bit more to promote like social media, like outreach, like more people to look at their their brand or like their team. That would even something that I always hear about with the FGC is like, you all need to really treat yourself more like as professionals. And maybe you all don't hear that as much, but like when it comes to the players, like really considering your brand, like that's something I hear so much when it comes to the players. So I think even like websites, which I don't know if it's considered full social media, but I think it is. LinkedIn, I think using that to also like put your yourself on there, your team on there, or because like with players, usually a lot of the time, like they do have tons more skills because they've learned them over the course of being players, like creating your content, managing social media pages, like lecturing people when it comes to like the game or like how to get into esports. Like you have so many skills. It's just people they kind of keep themselves in this one box of social media, which is Twitter. But if you actually think about how many skills you have, you can market yourself even in an even bigger way if you expand the type of platform that you're on, which I think LinkedIn is also a really good one too. So.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned something, creating like your own website as a player is like an interesting facet that I feel like a lot of people haven't really tapped into. There's a couple people who have, who like if you go to their Twitter page and then see, oh, this is the website that has like all their links to everything that they do or work on. That's a good option for like the player. But anyway, Emily, were you about to say something? Did I cut you off?
Well, I was just thinking about like untapped markets for promotion, and I feel like more players should consider being guests on podcasts like this. I feel like they're a really great way for them to reach the community, and it's not just through Twitter, right? But I feel like it's a medium that I haven't seen too many players get involved with. Like just an interview on a podcast.
I would go as far to say as some people, I think that's okay. I don't need to hear some of those players talk.
Really?
Or say words. Just maybe I'm wrong about that opinion. I'm just saying.
I mean, because some of their takes are a little much. So I know exactly what you're saying.
I understand that.
So maybe they need to work on that. I'm just saying. They need to work on that first.
Or maybe they should go say things on podcasts so people know exactly where they're coming from. But
yeah,
you're right about that, Emily, and that's a thing that I feel like a lot of people have not really tapped into. There's a couple of people I would say you could look at your like Sajam, for example, and that what's the name of his D&D podcast or D&D show?
Pixel.
Oh, the Magic Pixel. Yeah, that's right. Because that's such a good name. I was like mad, and it was like, man, it's a fucking good name for a D&D / fighting game enthusiast crossover you son of a. Anyway, like that stuff's a really good idea because, as you mentioned earlier, there are so many more interests than just fighting games that people have, and so many more talents that people have, like music, movies, or what have you. We're not all one-dimensional. We like this thing, and this is the only thing in our lives. But I agree. I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else about KOCancer that we haven't touched upon that you want to bring up? I know I'm swerving back. I did a curveball away talking about social media, but we're going to swing back around to the event and how much you had raised, which was honestly, again, I want to congratulate you both for putting on such an incredible event in such short notice and raise so much money and so many funds to help fund breast cancer research. That's really an incredible job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say, I did want to mention the strength and like of the community of our community for coming in really clutch, and I want to say like thank you to Jasmine on our team for the Equinox staff. Emily, is she under like a social media person?
She's our coordinator, social media coordinator.
Yes, social media coordinator. I want to. She helped me out because the goal was 1,000 for me, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that because I don't know if I'll be able to, but I was still going to try. I was like, I can try,
Right.
but I was nervous. So I talked to her because she gave me some advice. She just hit me up and I was like, oh, I could do incentives. And I really appreciated her for that because I'd never done anything like this. And my community ended up donating 5 times as much. And I really appreciated her advice. I appreciate the community caring so much. I appreciated them coming together for such an important cause. And it was amazing because, when you don't do things like this, you're like, I'll set that little mini goal for myself. But for me, I mean, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it well. So I'm so glad for all the people who gave me all the insight, all the support to help me in getting that taken care of. And I feel like I really was able to give something back.
Yeah, no, it does feel good to have like that amount of love shown from the community of like, we agree with this, like, hell yeah, let's go in. And just to confirm, that's Jasmine, or on Twitter, Kuro Mina, Kuro Mina, and then an H at the end. I think she's great. I've only had pleasant experiences talking to her, and like you said, I think she's very good at social media management in terms of these are the things you want to hit. Here's where you got to reach out. Just my opinion of how often I see her around. She just like comes up. She's got an eye on things. I don't know how many Twitter alerts she has set up, but like I feel like if you say it, she'd be like, "Oh, by the way, and this thing." No, she's cool.
She's on top of things. That's for
yes,
sure.
Absolutely. Which is like, you need people like that on your team. So if you out there are listening and thinking, I want to run an event like this, building a team of people you can trust, like you guys was talking about earlier, is like profoundly important when it comes to making things go smoothly a day of, or even leading up to. So glad that you have a team member like that to push things forward, let's say. Incentives though are that's always a good way to raise money. There's always like weird little things that you can do, weird little tricks of the trade, raise a little bit more money. Anything else though?
Sorry.
No, I cut you off again. Please go ahead. It's a little more difficult in a 3-way call when no one can see you. I understand. My apologies. I might have a little bit of crosstalk, but I'll let you. Please speak up.
Well, like Janelle said, when we first started, we were really unsure about what we were capable of. BCRF's mission was to basically just spread awareness as opposed to hitting like, a certain amount of donations. So it was really up to us to decide what our goal was. And we were really confused. We didn't know like what would happen. So the goal started small, like it started like 2,000 and 5,000. And then it just kept, we kept getting more money, more support. And BCRF was they were really happy with how supportive and generous our small community is, because in the grand scheme of things, BCRF, they've worked with Overwatch and Blizzard, and that's a huge game, right? And for them to take notice of us and then see that there's a lot of power in even a small community comparing to other bigger esports, and so that's why it was really important for Janelle and I to do a really good job with this, just to show like the power of a small community. And so, just to see it just happen like this and to be able to help the cause is just super meaningful for us.
No, huge win with that, just because it is cool to see, like you said, a relatively small community step up and make big strides like that. Because like the Overwatch community is much larger, and that's or like the League community, let's say. The fighting game community is kind of small peanuts in comparison, but with that said, though, still hugely successful, and again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Cuddle Core, were you about to? Did I cut you off?
Oh no, I was saying thank you.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, with that in mind, then, moving on to the next topic, let's say, because things if people are listening to this show, which will release on tomorrow, which is June 4th. If you're listening to this on June 4th, you might be thinking, why are they so upbeat and happy in a time like this? Well, sometimes you kind of have to, at least in my opinion, good to focus on like the good things that are happening, because right now things are very bad. So if you want to go down this path with us right now, we're about to talk about the trials and tribulations that people have been going through the past week, or for many people out there, their entire lives. There has been a huge push in not just the fight against, but every community that I've seen has been out there either protesting or supporting protests for Black Lives Matter or related causes, due to the deaths of, honestly, at this point, not just George Floyd, but the many Black men and women who have been murdered by police officers in this country. It's bad out there, and it seems to be getting worse. And I kind of want to hear how a team like Equinox, or even on a personal level, you both have reacted to the current situation or the current mood of things, or what your advice would be for people who don't seem to be listening, let's say.
Oh, am I going first? I don't understand. Is that
you can if you would like to.
I mean, okay. I just know I wasn't sure what order we were going in.
I kind of tossed that up to both, but I see that Emily has muted her microphone.
Was it you, Emily?
I'm sorry. I was talking. I didn't realize I was muted. I was saying, go ahead, Jan. If you have something to say, go ahead.
I didn't know if you were trying to send that message of like, time for me to shut up. I was like, okay, cool. Cool.
No, I would prefer you go first, actually.
So, Equinox, our team is really diverse, so it kind of hits close to home, everything that's happening. And when things first started getting crazy, I suppose, I don't know a better word, I wasn't sure at first how to react from a team owner standpoint, and also from the team standpoint, because, when something controversial, remotely controversial happens, you're like, I don't think I want to, do that on the official Twitter or the official team one. You have to be really careful. You don't want to get involved. But like, it just felt like this was an issue that just you couldn't really be silent on. And like, it wasn't like I kept saying at the start, like I kept rationalizing in my mind, like it's a political thing. We have to be careful about how we talk about this. But, it's not a political thing, right? It's a humanity thing. Like it's a human rights thing. Mm-hmm. And so I just felt like as a team, we had to help or do something or say something about it, because it matters. It matters to say something, and it matters to do something. And it matters to our team, and it matters to our community. So the first thing we did was help with the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which is with bail funds. Mm-hmm. And then, just basically spreading awareness about it, being there for the members on our team. And honestly, it's been really hard. And obviously, like, I'm never going to understand the true weight of the situation. But what we're doing is just, like you said, there's a lot of people not listening. And I'm trying to listen. And then we're trying to do what we can to be supportive, mm-hmm. Be allies.
I think that with running a team, you touched on something that I feel like a lot of organizations can relate to of, is this a political thing, and do we or should we have a say in it? Because you almost don't want to send that virtue signaling of,
right,
we've done this thing because others are doing this thing, versus are you actually like running your company in a way that is like diversity friendly or would, like, basically holding yourselves accountable to the things that you say, unlike a lot of major companies out there who say things and then you look at their actions and it speaks the opposite is true. Like, for example, I saw the San Francisco 49ers be like, hey, we're in solidarity. And I'm like, are you though? Are you? Because, I mean, you had someone on your team, but no? All right, never mind. It's one of those things where when you are in charge of a company like that, of making sure that you have all of your ducks in a row before saying something or making a statement like that, and backing up a movement like this without, because again, people have and not like had the ass to back it up. But I would say in your case, Equinox has the ass to back it up, let's say.
Well,
y'all got a lot of ass is what I'm trying to say.
It's interesting because you said you should have your ducks in a row, but the way we did it wasn't like, I think I want to pick up a black streamer, I want to pick up a black female player. It never happened like that. It's just like, we just want, like, I always just go back to this because it's so simple, right? Just wanting to do cool things with people that I like, or cool people. And it just happened that it ended up very diverse, and we have lots of different ethnicities. And I just feel like a lot of these companies just really need to look at their hiring policies, I suppose. But it's not a fight that, for me, the way I fight it is I try to just have our team be open and organic, and if we're diverse, we're diverse, and that's what we show, right? It's just like how we are. And I hope that this is eye-opening for a lot of these companies and for the people that support these companies to see that it's like a huge problem, and people can't just put a PR statement and think that that'll absolve them of what they've been doing,
right,
or not doing, which is hiring more people of color or having more people of color on their team as players. It's lifting a veil on something huge, basically.
I think that's something also that is worth mentioning, and Cuddle Core, I think that you would be extremely qualified to talk about this, because there are already so many black voices out there who have been saying this stuff for years and years. There are people who are making great content that may or really haven't maybe gotten the coverage that is deserved, because there's a lot of people putting in work. So who would you even... You know what? No, I'm not even going to direct you to talk about what you want. Go off, please.
Oh, just about. All right. Well, I just would like to discuss about what's been going on, and like you said, which I really do appreciate, the fact that many Black influencers in the gaming community and whatever profession it was, like whether it was like streaming or playing or podcasting, whatever it was, a lot of us have used our platform to speak on these occurrences, like these events, these tragedies, for a long time. Whether it was what was happening, like our people getting killed by police officers, or the obvious divide and sometimes like that racial segregation in the gaming community, whether it be because of we don't have the look because of our skin, or because we or they want somebody that's marketable in the sense that they feel comfortable with the person they see. But Black people aren't, like, they're familiar, they're there's nothing threatening about them, but they feel like sometimes we're less marketable. I've noticed that too. People are talking about, oh yeah, Black people, or Black content creators, or if they're looking for a certain type, like in a certain field, they're like, okay, Black people who are professionals in this, like, hit me up. I would like to help you out, give you more exposure. But where was this when all this wasn't happening? And they've been working quite hard. So with that, when this started happening with the protests, a lot of Black people were stating, hey, this doesn't just happen for a week or 2 weeks or a month. This happens all the time. So for people who are kind of maybe new to supporting this, we asked, I keep on saying this phrase because we've been using it, keep the same energy. Keep the same energy. That's all a lot of us are asking, because it's great to have allies, yes, but not when it's convenient for you, and not just to get clout, because that's something that people are doing as well. Those PR statements, that's rather shameful. For example, the NFL. I mean, come on. Yeah. You said it was like they pretty much deemed it disgraceful for Kaepernick to take a knee. The pledge doesn't. Yeah. The pledge isn't for everyone. The pledge isn't. It literally, like, this country was founded on the backs of slaves, and built off of it. Yeah, of course he wouldn't. Of course he wouldn't say the pledge, because the pledge doesn't say anything about, like it doesn't actually, the actual government doesn't commit to what the pledge is stating, and national anthem and all that. It doesn't for any of that. So of course, but they didn't believe in that. They thought he was disrespecting the country because they don't understand the Black perspective at all in that regard. And honestly, I would have rather an apology, a true one, that you were wrong. Don't just jump to be a part of the trend, because this is not a trend. People dying should not be a trend, but you want to look good. But people aren't fooled by that. So yeah. And I'm not trying to go off. This is definitely just what I'm seeing. And I just want to say it is highly appreciated to the people who are actually genuinely trying to elevate the Black voices in whatever community it is, because it matters, because we've been saying this for a while. And, we can educate many people, and we can tell people, hey, this is where you can donate, or hey, this is what you could do to help out your community that has Black voices, Black creators, and in whatever field. But I do want to say this one thing, because I've been feeling this a little bit. It's all well and good for people to donate, and I think that's amazing. But donating doesn't, that's one thing. But if you haven't addressed the problems in your own community in regards to the racial divide and the racial problems there, that doesn't make you, that doesn't remove you from having to tackle those problems just because you donated money, no matter what the amount was. If you have problems, for example, the fighting game community has a huge racism problem. It's massive, and people get unchecked all the time. But then you have people donating money in higher positions, but they're not addressing those problems. People have been tagged. They've been tagged on Twitter. Hey, are you going to address this? Are you going to address this? No, because they think that donating is solving the problem, but it's not, because you can't even tackle the racism that's happening in your own community. And just because you might, take care of one person who did it doesn't mean anything, or two people who did something that doesn't. It's a bigger problem. And this is not for the moment. This is something that needs to be tackled on such a deeper level. So for those of you that are doing it genuinely and are understanding the deeper problem there, and that money doesn't just solve that, thank you. I appreciate that. And for those of you that maybe don't fully understand that right now, start looking at yourself. Think about how deep the problem is embedded in the community, because that same problem that's happening inside the community is happening on a bigger scale out there. It's just a reflection, but it's honestly the same thing. Like it's happening. There needs to be some updates to the way things are ran overall.
I think that you've touched on something that the response from people who might hear it your gut might have already, you, the listener, might have said, but the FGC is already so diverse. We're not. Aha. It may be diverse, but are you listening to the voices of those people?
I think some genuinely do, and others I don't. They don't. Because if they did, then we wouldn't have things. We wouldn't still have the same people who haven't been checked on certain statements or like racist comments. Like they've been in the community so long and nobody's really done anything to like change that. So now they're here and they've enabled tons of other people to be just as bold in saying those things. So now we have a hostile environment, sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, everything. And because certain things aren't checked, we have a very hostile, dangerous environment. A lot of the time, it makes people not want to stay here. It may be diverse, but I think a lot of the time there's a problem in regards to listening to the people within it. It only looks pretty from the outside because like, hey, look at the diversity. Ha, yeah, that's a check mark. Yeah, there you go. But I mean, you have to think about the quality of the people in it, like their lives. That stuff that's traumatizing. I looked at a Twitter post once recently. I think it was from like a psychologist or something like that. She said that like people experiencing racism, and I'm sure this could go for any ism, like it creates a trauma, like a PTSD effect, and then that's the quality of your life that's diminishing when those things happen. That's why it's so important to tackle these problems, because those experiences scar people for life. And I think the community needs to really tackle that. Yeah, great job on donating, but really start giving back to the people in your community in regards to giving them platforms to speak, listening to those concerns, take care of those problems, because they're not just some illusion. They exist. They do. So overall, the gaming community and fighting game community, all that, yeah, and in general. So
I think the other block that you might run into is when people say, but that's only online.
Oh, yes. So that's only online. I've definitely seen that a few times, and I don't agree at all. So, okay.
I think the other funny thing to consider here is that saying that's only online in the time of a pandemic where the fighting game community is only online.
Exactly. And the thing
that's a kind of an aside joke, but like it remains true.
Right. But it's like, just because it's online doesn't mean it shouldn't be addressed. And a lot of those people who talk online go to these offline events when we did have offline. And it's like, that's why it needs to be addressed, because you're literally not checking people for their ignorance. So they're going to these tournaments. Nobody's checking them. They're like, okay, well, I see this person here, or, I see this woman here. I see this Black person here. It's women have been harassed, have been drugged. And tons of women started coming out with their stories about like rape and things like that. And they had to speak up. And that's not just an online thing. Like it's people who go offline and attack women and or it could be said about anything. Like, that's why I say, like, you have to check people, because if they feel comfortable doing it here, they'll do it offline. They'll do it anywhere. Like, they literally let people go to events. This could be players, casual players, people who spectate. They let these people go to events. And I have friends who have said, like, they'll let people who have said outlandish things online, they'll let them go to events, and they'll won't even check them on any of those statements, any of the statements they've made. They've been doing it for years. The people will be going to tournaments, they'll just go. Tons of people. And that's the problem, because you're showing to tons of people who are just as ignorant. You're showing, hey, we're not going to check this person, this player for this. And so other people are thinking, okay, if they can do that, then I can easily say these statements and get away with it. I can do what I want because my favorite player did it, or this person was able to get away with it. Yeah, that's a huge problem. I think higher ups need to be more comfortable in taking action in regard to that, instead of covering for people, or they might know them or something like that. That there should just be a whole, I still think there should be a panel of people to deal with these actual problems, instead of maybe they help with the tournament organizer, sure, or something like that. But it should never be like a popularity thing. It should definitely be about keeping people in check. That's more important than anything else.
There's also an interesting piece of what you talked about of, let's say you do bring it to the attention of an event organizer, and then they have a private conversation with that person and decide, no, I know this person. They are not racist. This is not a racist person. Is that enough?
No, it's not. Because if I come to a tournament organizer and I know what I experienced, and I show them, just because you don't think that person is like that doesn't mean that they aren't. And if all the writing's on the wall and everybody's saying the same thing, like, hello, like that, it's a true concern, and it needs to be addressed as such professionally. This is business. This is not a friendship thing. This is business. And people really get that mixed up too, I think. So they're like, oh, no, they're fine. And so then it doesn't get addressed again. And that happens too.
That's a good point. It's a good point. Because there are a lot of friendships, let's say, within the community. I mean, a lot of us go to a lot of the same events. So it wouldn't be out of character for someone to make friends with people who have, let's say, spread some negativity across the community, to put it lightly.
Yeah, for sure. And
that's the lightest way I can put it.
Yeah, and then it happens like, I know this person, they wouldn't do that. And it's like, well, a huge group of people, actually a lot of people would say otherwise. Just because you might see one version of them doesn't mean that, that they're ultimately that's the only version of that person. Because like I said, tons of other people are saying otherwise. So, and these are like, this community, it's about the community being safe and everybody's voices being heard. I think a lot of the time things get covered up.
Now
because of those reasons.
Let me ask you this then, because I feel like this would be like the natural conclusion of this situation of, what if I have done something, what if this is me talking, and I've said something in the past that is like extremely harmful to both women or people of color, let's say. Let's say that I've said that, and maybe I've apologized once or twice in the past. What is like the right way to, let's say, atone for past digressions?
Oh, what a great question. So I think a public apology to the community that you targeted with hate speech would be the right way to do that. Apologizing once or twice means nothing, especially if you didn't do it on your your whole platform. Or
let's say I'm sorry that you were offended that I said these things.
Oh, that's actually a very poor apology. So I'd say that at that point we would have to get whoever it is, if they are on a team or something, you get their team involved then too, because that will ensure, like, we need, like, if the community had to discuss it with the team, yeah, hey, we need an actual legit apology, not a half-assed one, because that's not gonna fly. Like, you have to apologize for what you said, in it, who you said it to, and that you will do better. And that's the actual apology you would have. Not, I'm sorry, you're offended. No, that would be a terrible apology. And I've definitely seen that sorry, not sorry thing. But that's personally just my opinion on the take on that.
Yeah, no, I think that you're right about that, of making a statement of saying that, yes, I was wrong. And then what's key about that is continuing on in the future in a way that maintains that the reason why you would have apologized in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people I noticed, when, we're all human, right? We make mistakes. People are always going to make mistakes. But a lot of people seem to have a problem properly apologizing. I don't know. It just seems like really difficult for a lot of people. But I think it's just important to just acknowledge, apologize, and then, make sure that you don't do whatever it is that you did.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
it's so simple. Like just acknowledge, apologize, and don't do it again.
But
That
I
is
will
like an
state that
extremely pragmatic thing to do that someone who runs a business might say, which is also a good way to run your business. Like, you don't have to be shady about the shit you say. You can be and say, like, you can have fucked up and it turn out okay. Like, that's like the other weird thing of like, you see people say like, well, we don't want to cancel anybody, but like, not really, because even when people have been quote unquote canceled, like their resources and like access has not been taken down one iota. So what exactly are we talking about here?
because we called them out. Oh, is that called a cancel? Oh, because we said, hey, stop being garbage. Like, is that what it is? Because we called them out. Are we not supposed to? Are we not supposed to? Like, why? Because like that's my whole thing. Like,
Because I don't call me. I don't like being called garbage.
like what? So I can, like we're human beings. I should be able to say, hey, what you said was not okay. Like that's called, like that's called being accountable. So you say, hey, that wasn't all right. I'm holding you accountable for what you said, because that was ignorant, and that's normal. That's living. Mm-hmm. I've even had times where I've said things and I get checked, like, hey, I actually, that's wrong. This is actually how it is. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I thought it was this. Like, mm-hmm. It isn't a difficult concept, but when you have, like, say if you have a big platform and tons of people are like kissing your feet or something like that, or just following you, but there is some sort of praise there. The problem that happens is sometimes I think people don't separate the artist from the art. And that is the problem, because you can do great performance-wise, but that doesn't automatically mean you're a good person who have made great decisions all the time. So people will call you out, and that it includes the people who follow you, because wrong is wrong. And to be a good human being, like, of course people keep you, you're not right all the time. It's good to say, like, hey, I make mistakes. But the thing is, if they feel like they're just so on a pedestal, they just feel like they can never be wrong. They can never be corrected. And when you do correct them, they want to double down and not apologize even more. Or I guess because people attack them because they're so hurt at what was said, because they think their favorite player could never, they just buckle down even harder on not apologizing. Or they feel like, oh, that was in the past. That was in the past. That doesn't mean people forget, because you never truly dealt with it. You never were truly accountable for it. Mm-hmm. So people don't forget. People don't forget things, and they shouldn't.
I think something that you've brought up that is important for people to listen to is that if and when you fuck up, which might happen. I fucked up. Was it 2-3 days? I have no idea how time works. About 2 days ago, my fuck up was we had was setting up this charity tournament, and I said that it was for the benefit of people of color. And someone called me out saying, it's not just this is not specifically a people of color problem. This is a black people problem. And I went, you know what? You're right. And deleted that message, apologized in that thread where the thing had been a fuck up, and then restated the same point with the correct vernacular. And I wasn't canceled. Nothing bad came of it. I fucked up. I went, oh, you're right. Let me change this. Done. Easy to do at that point. Not hard.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make me feel, because here's the thing. Like, I am a white straight man. I know in the future I will say something fucked up. This is my nature. And then someone will say, I don't know about that one, my guy. You might want to walk that one back. And I will say, you know what? I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, because that's not a perspective that I have. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will correct this action. That's how you do it. It's not hard.
Literally yesterday, I messed up. I did we were on Equinox account Instagram, and everybody's doing the Blackout Tuesday thing, and I did the black square with the hashtag Black Lives Matter, which basically blocked off the whole timeline.
Right,
with the black script. Right. So, really messed up and acknowledged it, and we deleted it right away. We're like, we really messed up. Sorry, we did not mean to use the hashtag, please. And, we put up a new post with the correct resources, not just a blank box. And, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we just, like you said, it's so easy. Just be like, we messed up. Sorry. We won't do it again. We're going to fix it. Mm. And some people, I guess a lot of people have a hard time coming to grips with that. But if it should be that simple.
Yeah. People should know that it's okay to make a mistake so long as you are willing to correct yourself.
Right.
When corrected. The black box thing. I remember that very famous Martin Luther King speech when he said, "Sometimes it's good to be silent." I remember that when he said that for a day. Just everybody be quiet for a day. No. Jeez, oh man. But it's cool. Like, it's fine. Like, Equinox is not canceled. Like,
right. It's just when this is when I think people get canceled deeply and should be. This is my opinion though. Like, if you can't apologize and you just double down on just defending yourself, even though you really did fuck up, then canceling just might be the way you have to go. Then, if we're gonna really be on that route, like, I mean, if you're really not going to understand your flaw and or what you did, your mistake, and how it affected people, how disrespectful it was, then honestly, then maybe that's not a cancel. That's you just need to separate yourself. Maybe you need to remove yourself then from this community if that's really your hang up, your problem. Because then okay, then if you can't agree with that, then you can dip, you can leave. Like, that's it. People would rather choose to, they'd rather blame somebody else or like directing the focus somewhere else instead of taking accountability. Then honestly, you're not being mature, you're not being professional, you're not being an adult, and companies aren't going to want to mess with that. So just
fuck them.
So many words. I didn't know what to say in that, but sure.
No, but we're coming up against it though. And before we kind of wrap things up, I was going to toss it over to Emily. Is there anything that you would want to say before we kind of wrap up this topic of Black Lives Matter, what we're seeing within the community or what we're seeing with like outside of the community, or just in general? Any closing thoughts?
Well, we talked about the message being authentic, people were just putting up a blank PR statement. But that being said, I think it's great that a lot of people are speaking up, and they are posting things, they're saying things. There are some influencers speaking up, a lot of teams speaking up, and the tournament just happened. How much ended up getting donated?
Oh, I guess I should set that up as well. I didn't plan on really talking about that during the show.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. You don't have to apologize. I mean,
okay.
You brought it up, so we can talk about it now. But our Street Fighter ran a extremely impromptu charity drive for the chosen charity of the winner of the tournament. We've since expanded that to top 4 because so much money was raised. It made sense to spread the love to as many organizations as possible to still make an impact. And the total right now, which it hasn't been closed, is upwards of 17,400 some.
Oh my God.
Which was like them. I mean, all of that had been raised within 12 hours. So people gave a fuck, and there were a lot of huge donations as well, which were like really incredible. But yeah, it is kind of like you said, it's people care about this stuff, and it is heartening to see when people come together over shit like that. But yeah, wasn't gonna bring it up because honestly, although that tournament is run by like us and this organization, I do not want to take credit for it, because like all it did for me for that to happen was I went, well, this should be a charity tournament. That was literally all it took. Like that was the amount of work put in of me saying this should be a charity tournament. There's a little bit of back end work that has to happen now to figure out how to put all of that money in the right place from like a legal perspective, but at the same time,
right, like that's what happened with KOCancer as well. Like it was just like I'm just so floored by how generous the FGC can be. So I am hopeful that if we keep holding people accountable, if we keep talking about it, if we keep talk, like, you know, like Janelle talked about it, like it just don't make it a trend, you know, it's real, it's people's lives. We have to just continually acknowledge that this is a problem that won't go away until we fix it.
Keep that same energy. Exactly.
Yeah. Please.
Cuddle Core, any closing thoughts here?
Well, you all kind of summed up a lot of it, but I'll give my little something too. Thank you to everyone who's been giving in one way or another to what's been going on lately. There's a lot of injustice going on that's been going on for ages, but thank you to those of you who are really trying to stand with the Black community. Really appreciate that. Because it's gonna take a lot of exposure, unfortunately, and a lot of people to get this done. But it's great to see a community that I do enjoy come together to help out once again for a cause that deserves all the support, all the understanding, and all the love. So thank you.
One more note on that, if for the people who are listening, thinking about, well, who should I listen to? What should I do? It's just because the FGC is on Twitter, follow more Black people on Twitter. If you don't follow a lot of Black people, don't follow a lot of women, don't follow a lot of people of color, change who you follow to at least have that messaging show up in your timeline to see this is what people are saying. For whenever anything, not just even this instance of like extreme prejudice that is happening right now, but also in the future for other issues that have reared their ugly head. But that will just about do it. Follow and listen to those people's voices. But before I let you both go, I have to ask you both a question. And this is a question of which I feel like is very telling, can tell you a lot about a person, about how they, who they are as a player, who they are as a person. It comes in two parts. Cuddle Core, let's go to you first. The first part of the question is, what is your favorite normal attack in any fighting game and why?
My favorite normal attack in any fighting game. Okay. So I'm just gonna talk about the character I use all the time because So Elisa, Tekken 7, her normal. One of my favorites is like her down back 3. And why is because it opens up people really easily. I'm in crouch, which means I have tons of options from crouch to stop you from mashing more buttons. And pretty sure I'm plus on that too. So don't you mash because I can just open you up. So
It's a very advantageous button, let's say. An extension of that question to you as well. What is your favorite combo in any fighting game and why?
My favorite combo in any fighting game? Oh, well, I guess it had to take it again. But my favorite combo in Tekken is Elisa's chainsaw forward 1+2. So she literally like shatters your soul, and so you like crumple. Then she gets a tailspin, and then she flies forward, and she like does a upward motion, and then she alley oops your butt onto the ground. Sometimes it's a floor break depending. So that's my favorite combo because she used to not have a combo for chainsaw like that, and now she gets so much damage. Oh my god, it's amazing. Yeah, that's
chainsaws are cool. I'm for that. All right. Well, then in that case, then Emily. The same line of questioning goes to you. What is your favorite normal attack in any fighting game and why?
So I don't play that many fighting games. The only one that I play a lot of is Tekken. And I play Kazumi, and I just know that I like to one jab. Is that a good answer? One jab? Just one jab. I know it's really important. I need to do it more. One jab. Just one jab over and over. And then my favorite combo. Okay, so I entered NorCal Strong Style last year, and I needed to find a character with like a really easy combo, right? So I had to find what would be the most effective, and I discovered everybody suggested me Noctis, so I really like 2-2-2-2, right? That was good. And then people also told me to try 4-4-4-4 with Katarina. Those are my favorite kinds because I am not a fighting game player, but they make me feel like I'm accomplishing something. So I know a lot of people don't like these easy combos, but they're good for like noobs like me. But if I could learn any combo, honestly, I would like to learn like the giant swing, the cool king stuff, any of that. But I cannot execute it. But I want to learn.
That's okay. That's part of this. That's part of the question. Your favorite combo doesn't have to be one that you yourself can do.
Yeah.
So that opens up the whole window of opportunities. But I appreciate your answers. Those are good answers that I think tell a lot about your character and your relationship with fighting, which is like, those were not bad answers. You are also not the first person to answer that question who doesn't have a lot of experience. Actually, that's totally fine and cool. And I think you did a good job answering them. So, I mean, Cuddle Core, did she do a good job? Yeah,
she did great. I think she did amazing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. All right. We needed that confirmation. We need Emily to be built up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And to build Emily up a little bit more, we're going to end the show and say thank you, Emily, and thank you, Cuddle Core, for coming on to talk about recent events and your incredible job fundraising for KOCancer. Just, again, hats off to you and the amount of promotion and work that went into that basically week-long event that was just incredible. But Emily, where can people find you on the internet?
So you can follow me at twitter.com/NixRose, and then the Equinox Twitter is EQNX Gaming. And yep, those are the two you can follow me at.
All right, Cuddle Core, same for you. Where can people find you?
On Twitter, you can just find me under Cuddle_Core. On Twitch, it's Cuddle_Core. And Instagram, TK_Cuddle.
Underscore.
Wait, what?
Cuddle.
It is? Oh my God, I thought it was underscore Cuddle Core this whole time.
No.
Oh no, I've been talking to the wrong thing.
Is that a different person? Oh fuck.
Oh no.
I just changed the name. Cuddle,
okay.
it's shorter, sweeter.
Got it.
Oh no, brand solidarity out the window.
Got
beans. Fuck. All right, well, that will do it for a show. Again, thank you all for listening, and again, huge thank you to Emily and Cuddle Core for spending this time talking about the things what you give a fuck about. I am highly appreciative for you to cut time out of your day for this, so thank you both once again.
Thank you for having us.
That'll do it for me, though. You find me at Super Joe Monday or at SF on Twitter.com. That's a show. That's the Thursday show for this podcast. We're here usually every Thursday. I say that, but I was on vacation last week, so there wasn't an episode last week, so fuck your feed. The tournaments that we run, Mondays on the East Coast, Fridays on the West Coast, so look out for that. But other than that, folks, until next time, take care and peace.